Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this.
But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Service, Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. Eagle-eared, I guess, amongst you would have realised I've switched back to the old intro. The votes are really, really close on that. So if anyone still wants to chuck in their tuppence worth, let us know. But it's closer than Brexit was, although I suspect it's more to do with apathy than anything else. Today, I have got joining me John, who's been on the show probably just as many times as I have recently. John, the Colchester journalist, supporter journalist, whichever way you want to do it, depending on which hat he wants to wear. Hi, John, how are you?
All right, thank you, Mike. Yeah, yourself?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Good.
So as mentioned, you came to our lovely little grounds just a couple of weeks ago. And obviously it's going to sound awful, this, but you've been around a bit. So
very true, though.
How does it kind of compare to other grounds you've been to?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it actually, and despite the result for Colchester United on the night, it was a nice evening. It was freezing, yeah.
It was freezing.
It was absolutely bitter and quite deceptively, because it didn't seem that cold before the game, but the temperature dipped quite dramatically during the game, and we're quite used to it at Colchester because our stadium is arguably one of the coldest in the country, and so we're quite used to being cold and wearing lots of layers. But it was bitterly cold that night, wasn't it? But it was an enjoyable experience. I enjoyed being at the ground for the first time and chalking off another ground on my list, and seeing a decent game of football as well. So despite the result for Colchester.
Yeah, no, it was a good game. I'm trying to sort of remember back, but I think it was Ali Smith did particularly well that night. My nephew was with me, and I think he did particularly, although he didn't take very kindly to the first goal being taken away from him. So I had a little tease of him yesterday because he scored again yesterday from another long range effort. And did that take a clip on the way in, Ali? Is that yours or is that an Oggy?
Well, there's a discrepancy over the Colchester goal as well, wasn't there? Because
yes,
we all in the press box thought it was Tom Eastman with the header, but we were trying to work out that maybe Freddie Sears had got a touch on the line, but then someone sort of said it might be an own goal. So there's one for the dubious goals panel.
Yeah, I think give it to the striker. I think the chairman would say give it to whoever gets the lowest goal bonus.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah. So on the visit, you would have met a few of our long-standing people you met. Was Tony? Did you meet Tony Dolbear?
It was a pleasure to meet Tony. Yeah, he was very, very helpful on the evening and made sure that we all were served well with team sheets and so on. And very, very helpful. Yeah,
no, I've said to you before, they're a proper bunch. They're really good. I mean, I can't remember who it was now, and I'm sorry, but at the start of the season, some another journalist somewhere for something said, I've just received the nicest email I've ever received in my work from Sutton United. And it was like, it's an email, what you want about? And he goes, no, honestly, it was just so nice. And I was like, oh, I love our little club. I think they're great.
Well, it goes a long way with people, I think, and that sort of personal touch and that sort of attention to detail and friendliness and general welcome that you receive. And some people will be travelling a long way to get to Sutton and watch a game from up and down the country. Fortunately for us, it wasn't too far, but you sometimes you turn up and you're a bit stressed and you had to find somewhere to park, and the journey's been a nightmare. So the best thing you can have when that happens is to be welcomed into the ground like you are at Sutton, and so it does go a long way and it does make a difference to people.
Absolutely, always every day proud of them, what they do. From the team yesterday, I mean, I don't know, obviously you've got your own team to watch, but yesterday we were 2-0 down, and we got it back into it, and then we gave away an absolutely mad goal, and then we got a very soft penalty. Somehow managed to grab a draw out of it, and it was looking nowhere near a draw. Although once again, I made a few pennies from the bookies because when we were 2-0 down, I just thought, do you know what? We've done this before. I'm just gonna do it. Not much money, but there you go.
I noticed there was a good following of Sutton fans behind the goal as well. I know Stevenage quite well. I covered them for a while, and they seem to have a very good away following.
Yeah, I think it was 388 or something like that. So it was touching 400, which is, again, we're a small little club. People forget that we're a small little club. So it was really, really good from the guys. But onto your own team. Obviously, I don't want to talk too much because it puts you in a difficult position being a journalist with a foot in each camp. But you have spotted it on Twitter and you've put it in your article today, actually, just a little bit before you came out. So that is, just remind me of the Twitter handle on that.
It's John Waldron 1. That's
John Waldron 1, and it's in the Colchester
Daily Gazette.
The Gazette, excellent. Yeah. So to anyone who's seen it, you'll know why we don't want to talk too much about it because I'll get flagged up for explicit. There's a nice little video of the director and some fans having a bit of an altercation. Obviously, the clip that's been uploaded is about 3-4 seconds long, but there is a bit more into it. So if you're interested, if you want to read more on it, do dip into John's Twitter account or the Colchester Gazette thing and read a bit more. But obviously, that, and we had Oldham the other day. We know Leyton Orient have had problems, and this is why I keep waxing lyrical about our guys just being. Their interest is the team. Their interest is absolutely the team. We had many years ago a guy rock up to Sutton to want to buy and invest in Sutton, and basically he was told he's going to have a seat on the board, more or less. I know the story has changed a little bit in my mind over the years, but more or less he was told, "Thank you for the money, but actually you'll be a part of a board," and he didn't want that at all. And he actually went off and invested in Carshalton, and at the time, Carshalton were quite close to actually finishing. I think they were a penalty kick away from getting into the league above us for the first time in their history. So it was like, oh God, they're going to now get loads of money, and he's absolutely. I mean, they're coming back up now, which is good, but they went way down because this guy just was playing Football Manager with his team. So it just shows to anyone who ever doubts how boring board that they're doing it right. So. If any of you listen, AB, I know you listen every now and then, so thank you very much. But how was your game? I know you're in a bit of a slump at the moment.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. I mean, it's not been good, and yesterday's game was a very important one for Colchester in the context of where they are in the table and where their opponents, Barrow, were going into the game. I think there was 1 point between the two teams. Colchester sort of just above the relegation zone, 3 points clear of that. Barrow 4 points clear. So it was a huge game really for Colchester, and it was their first home league game since November. So they've had a lot of tough away games recently, which they haven't fared well in. And the belief was that they would go into this game thinking, well, this is a good chance for us to get back on track. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for them. It was I think Mark Cooper, the Barrow manager, described it as quite a sort of drab affair. There wasn't much going on in the first half. The weather wasn't great. There wasn't much atmosphere. But the second half, Barrow came out very strongly and scored quite early on in the second half. And then Colchester just lacked ideas, lacked creativity, lacked any kind of belief really in terms of getting back into the game. And the only surprise really was that it took Barrow as long as it did, sort of into stoppage time, to score their second goal and seal the win. So very disappointing afternoon for everyone at Colchester. And, I think everyone was expecting sort of a better performance than that. Going into the game, and they just completely failed really to live up to any expectations that there still remain. So 3 points above the relegation zone, albeit with a couple of games in hand on sort of other teams around them, but worrying times I think for Colchester United given the performance as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk. I'm slightly biased on this, but there's a lot of talk recently about the National League being so strong and calls for free up, free down. again. Which I'm biased because it took Sutton all these years to dig ourselves out of it, and suddenly you're going to open it up to everyone else. And I think as one of our supporters go, yeah, as soon as they do this, you just know we're going to have that third relegation spot.
Yeah.
But do you think there? I don't know how much National League you get to see, but do you think that because of that bottleneck, you are finding that some teams, their only expectation or only plan for the season is to avoid the bottom two? And that's why there seems to be a bit of a gulf in quality, because we would never have thought something coming up that we would be at that end of the table, and without obviously full praise to all the players, but it's not as if there's a massive change from last season. It's the same team that won the National League, basically.
I mean, you're right. I don't know that much about the National League because obviously my focus is on League Two and it has been for a while. But what I do know is that from what I've seen of the teams that have come up, including Sutton, that they've done particularly well. Most of them sort of coming up, and there doesn't. I know most people say this, but there doesn't seem to be much of a difference between League Two and National League these days. And it was Harrogate last season who impressed me, a bit like Sutton are now, that they came up and just hit the ground running. Made a bit different because it was behind closed doors and so on, but they really impressed me. And other teams have done the same, and I don't think there is that much of a gap now between the two divisions. And when you look at Sutton United, who are very close to us geographically in Colchester, and they've really struggled to sort of get results this season. It just shows you perhaps that there's no guarantee that when you go down from League Two that you're going to come straight back up or even challenge near the top, if even if you are one of the bigger teams in that division.
Yeah, I mean it took quite a few teams. They kind of went, oh yeah, we're going to smash this. I mean, Notts County was a big example when they came down. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and it's like, oh, I don't actually think you are. Strangely, the only one that didn't seem to do that I remember was Leyton Orient. They kind of came down, they kind of licked their wounds. Were like, we're here for a reason, and they sorted themselves out and they came up quite quickly. You've got teams like Wrexham been down there for ages. You've got Grimsby down there now, Notts County down there. So you've got these big teams. Yeah, big teams. And then you've had others like York literally just drop through. So I don't remember much about York because they just went straight through and didn't see him again.
And that's the fear with Colchester United. I mean, without wanting to be, looking at the downside. I mean, they had a relegation struggle last season. So the theory is that if they do go down, then it's going to be a real problem for them to sort of come back up. And it's not like when they went down sort of in the late 80s into the conference when it was 1 up, 1 down, albeit they were up in 2 seasons because the golf in quality was different there between the Football League and the non-league. Now it's not like that. It's very similar, and in fact there's some very good teams in the National League that can more than hold their own, and if they got promoted sort of tomorrow, they'd be able to do well. So it's not easy, and they really cannot get relegated. I mean, it would be disastrous really for the football club.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a group of teams vying to be the not as bad as the others, just basically the least worst at the moment, which is great for us, obviously, because we can stop panicking about our 50 points. So whilst I've depressed you and made you feel like that, let's talk about the game. How do you see it going on Tuesday?
Well, it's difficult to be optimistic going into this game as a Colchester follower because not only did they underperform yesterday and have done for a number of games now, I think it's 5 defeats in a row.
Yeah, I read somewhere 5. It's the worst run since you lost 9 in a row. Some seasons back
in League One, yeah, and it's just that the lack of goals is really, really costing them now. They've scored the fewest amount of goals in the whole division. I think it's 17, but I think it's only sort of 1 in the last 5. They're really struggling in front of goal. I think it was 1 shot on target yesterday. So, there were signs of hope at Forest Green on Tuesday night because against a very good team, they did actually create quite a few chances and force their goalkeeper to make a number of good saves. But, yesterday it was back to kind of what we've been seeing before that, where the creativity is not there either and the goals aren't coming because the shots on target aren't there. And having seen Sutton twice this season, we know and Colchester United know that they will be up against a very, very good team this season on their own ground. So, they really do need to find something from somewhere to lift their performance in all areas in order to get anything out of the game on Tuesday. And that's just the realistic approach.
Yeah, I mean, we've been lucky. I mean, over the years, we've never actually had that striker that scores loads and loads of goals. We've bought a few that we've expected to score loads and loads of goals, but it's just never really panned out just because of the way we work. But actually, we've got quite a few players who've scored 6-7 goals. So the goals are coming from all over pitch. We've mentioned Danny Smith, who scored again yesterday. I tried to take it off of him, but it's a good performance. I mean, I'm sorry to say this. I'm hoping for more of a performance that we had against Mansfield, where we took the lead quite early, and then it was a very, very dull, boring match. We scored a second one, and that was it. We didn't have any dramas or anything. I'm not sure a lot of people can cope with the game like yesterday and the Port Vale game. We'd like some boring, easy, not easy, but box standard wins. But you'll be there again yourself?
I will. I'm looking forward to it. Yes. It's almost like a home ground these days.
Yes, absolutely. Well, might wander around to the press box, give you a little wave.
Yes.
You see my bright yellow jacket. But if not, if you train your little camera phone, you'll see some bald bloke on the mound, kind of opposite where you are, just to the left, and you'll see me there glaring at everyone because I'm very sociable these days.
I'll give you a salute.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will to you too. So anyone listening now, you're going to get a bit of weird time travel because I'm actually going to shoot off to the ladies' match, and I'll then have Dan on later on for the second part of the show, and I'll be able to tell you the result. So to you, it'll be instant, but to me, it's going to be a couple of hours because Rosie is now insisting we go to the ladies' games, which is great. So take care, and I'll see you again soon, John. Thanks for everything. Thanks for all your time. You've been really, really helpful. Guys, you can't believe the amount of emails I send going, oh, actually, can I just change the time? Oh, actually, can I change the time again? But instead of telling me to get lost and please delete my email, John's always been very, very kind with his time. So thank you very much, John.
Pleasure.
And I'm sure we'll speak to you again soon next season until you change your email.
I look forward to it. Hopefully, well, who knows where both clubs will be next
Hopefully,
season.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, I didn't even think of the both part. Oh my God, no. There was a great little thing the other day, which I managed to get the audio, and it was Football League World. A couple of people discussing the distinct possibility of something getting back-to-back promotions. And I was still laughing, but we're halfway through the season now. It's not a joke anymore.
No, they're in that position for a reason in the table, yeah. So who knows?
Yeah, these players, they're very naughty. Poor Bruce. Very upset. Take care. Thanks a lot, John.
Thanks,
See you soon. Thank you. Bye. And just like that, I'm back. Anyone who hasn't seen it and who was interested, the ladies' team game was actually really, really exciting. It was 5-4 in the end, but we were 4-1 down at one stage and was fighting back. I got very confused because Darcy Wells scored 3 goals and then was immediately substituted. And I was just this confused look on my face. Didn't realise it was roll-on, roll-off subs. So that's something I've learned. But yeah, it was really, really interesting. And any Sutton fans who kind of do miss some of the old days where you could wander around, it's worth giving it a go because I got to sit in the away end in the new little seats and sort of saw the view there, where I know a few people earlier in the season were bitching and moaning about the view. They literally must have taken a picture from behind a pole because the view is absolutely fine. It's almost the same view that we have standing on the curver. But anyway, joining me is Dan for the second half of this. Mixed it up a little bit this week. We're going to do the review of the Stevenage game after we've previewed the Colchester game. Makes sense? And then Dan and I will talk about the Colchester game. But anyway, whatever. All works well. Dan, how are you?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Rambling on a little bit as normal. So nice quiet game to you to cover for you. Did the blog this week. I saw it just came out about 10-15 minutes ago.
Yeah, managed to get up before this. Rushing to get it finished.
But yeah, not much to sort of talk about.
Let's just move straight on to the Colchester game, mate. It's just not worth bothering.
Standard give away a 2-goal lead.
Yeah.
Again, I have to say, I did stick a couple, not much, but a couple of pennies at 2-0 down. Because I just saw, I did a couple of pence left in my Betfair account and thought, do you know what? I'll lay against Stevenage. Because I don't really understand laying, but I'll lay against Stevenage. Set it to be like 76p. And so I'm 15 quid better off. So I'm like,
Nice.
that's worked well. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think Nick had 4 days. He had a £5 on us to win at half time and a £5 on the draw. So he came in at 50 quid. He was 50 quid up on the way back. And we then drank that in the centre back in town afterwards.
Well, I did think about it because I saw it was like 50 to 1 for the win. I was like, no, they're not going to do it again. It's not going to happen again. But I'd have been crying if they had. Well, I wouldn't have been crying. I would have been delighted. But yeah, so first goal, I think had that been Ben doing the exact same action on the striker, it would definitely have been a free kick.
Yeah, I don't disagree, mate. I mean, to be honest, if anyone was in the ground and saw that, doesn't think it's a foul, then they're an idiot, because it was. I mean, fair enough. The stuff before is 2 players tussling for the ball. That's like, but Ben's got the better of him, turned him, goes to go away from him, and he pulls him back and down.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we then stopped, and that's where the opening came for the goal. But I mean, it's a free kick, or it's a bad decision because Matt doesn't mention stuff about refs.
Yeah, absolutely.
99% of the time, if there's something contentious in the game, he'll always say, "Well, I wasn't, I didn't," or he'll kind of give a bit of an opinion on it. Yeah. But in that he was going, "Yeah, that was a foul." Everyone thought it was a foul. It should have been a foul. So we shouldn't have stopped after the foul, but we did. So
yeah, I mean, it was difficult from what I saw anyway. Is once he'd gone over, there was a huge gap anyway, so there wasn't an awful lot. I don't think anyone could have done, even if they carried on. I'm not trying to remember it back, but it's one of those, as I say, if it's a striker in that position, they stay on their feet. Everyone's going, no, he should have gone over. The defender that goes over doesn't ever get it, and I just found it very bizarre. The second goal, I can't even really remember, to be honest.
Free kick in. We kind of. Yeah. I think we were expecting them to play a direct set piece, and instead they played it short. We rushed it down, but what that did was both the lads on the wall rushed it down, and he then played it short behind them. Yeah. Another little short ball, and then it ends up going in, and it's just a little glance into the far corner off the bloke's head. So
we're begging for half time at this point, or I was like, come on, just
it was just let's just get in at 2 down and just see if we can sort this out.
Yeah,
but, I mean, I don't think we played particularly well at all first half. No. It's probably one of the most disjointed performances we've seen in a while. But I mean, they had a lot of the ball, but didn't really do anything with it. No. Which we see from a lot of sides. A lot of these teams like to have the ball, but I think Dino had only had like 1 save to make prior to the first goal. So yeah, they hadn't done a lot. So it was a bit weird going in 2 down at half time. All right, we hadn't been brilliant, but it's not like they'd run us completely ragged for 45 minutes. So yeah, it was. Yeah, we looked a little bit more like ourselves second half, thankfully.
Yeah, and so I saw on one of the replies to you, I was teasing Ali because where he scored against Colchester and they tried to take it off of him. I think they did with an own goal.
Oh, the AG, because he came back off the post,
So then this one yesterday, he's tweeted it going, what a great goal. And I'm like, yeah, you sure that didn't take a clip on the way through? It's just taking the piss. And next week someone's got on the Stevenage report. Yeah, it's
deflected and floated in. I mean, okay, I said this at the time. I thought it did catch a little nick on the way through. It didn't alter the flight of the ball. So sorry, don't worry, Ali. We're not trying to take that one off you as well. It definitely caught someone on the way through. But for the report to say it floated in, I mean, anyone who watches the video of the goal is sort of like, were you watching a different game to me? It didn't float in; it whacked into the far corner.
I'm convinced Bruce is checking the contract of goal bonuses, going, "No, can't have that one. Can't have that one."
You got to watch your money, mate. Every penny counts.
But, no, absolutely great goal. And what impressed me even more so is the 1930s way he celebrated and just literally turned around and nonchalantly strolled back, going, "Thank you, thank you." So, hang on,
I think that was just I think that was just needed. It was like, right, we're back in this. The job ain't done yet. Let's get going again.
Good time. And then we had the free kick.
Don't. That was one of those ones I was actually sending. I think someone had text me. So I was looking at my phone, going, "Who's bloody else texting me during a game?" And then all I hear is, I forget who it was. I think it was Dukey stood behind me, going, "Oh fucking hell!" Looked up and saw the bloke rolling a ball into an empty net. Dino's nowhere near his goal, and I'm like, "Hang on, that was our free kick. What's just gone on there?" And someone described it to me, and it sounded awful. And then I watched it on the highlights on the video back today. I was like,
"Yeah,
Rob, what are you doing?"
Well, it's difficult to. Obviously, he's done very well. It's difficult to criticise him, but yeah, you got to wonder what he was doing. He must have been just trying to make a point. He was
trying to take it quick. But someone said that the geezer wasn't 10 yards back. But the problem is, if Rob's decided to take it quick, you haven't given him time to retreat 10 yards.
Yeah.
So tough.
Yeah.
That's obviously the way the ref's seen it. But it's silly that Dino's come all that way to take the free kick, and either Dino shouted at him and he hasn't heard, or whatever. But yeah, it was.
It was.
As I said in the blog, our latest viral YouTube hit, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe something else will come up with Sutton United goalkeeper now. But anyway, almost straight away, the ref proved what a great ref he was by making another decision wrong, and it didn't look like a penalty. It didn't sound like a penalty.
It even from watching behind the goal, the end had a shout for it, but that's football supporters these days. That's the way fans are. It's a challenge in the box. Oh, ref, penalty. But when he pointed to sort of vaguely in the direction of the spot. Because a few people were like, "Has he actually given that, or is he given offside?" And we were looking at a linesman for a flag. But no, then I thought the lad won the ball. The ref was quite a way back, so whether he didn't have a great view of it and just thought, I wasn't convinced it was a pen. I didn't think it was at the time, and having watched the replay about 20 times on the highlights, I'm still not convinced it was.
Well, I wonder whether the referee did think he'd made a bit of a ricket with the free kick, and possibly because someone said the ref blew for the free kick to be taken, then Rob took it. I'm not sure. Obviously, I wasn't there, but maybe he thought he'd even it up. But that was a bit dodgy.
Maybe, I don't know.
We would have been furious if that had been the other way. We'd have been furious.
Oh yeah. But the thing was as well, he kind of balanced it out right at the end, where Richie nearly had his head taken off in the box by a bloke.
Yes.
High foot. It's definitely a penalty, and he's completely blanked it.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going back to you being a football fan. You can just be screaming for it, but once you kind of, why hasn't he given us that? And then you think, oh, hang on, we've had a shitter earlier.
Yeah.
That's why. That's why he's not. That's why he's not given us that blatant one. It's because he knows he's probably made a mistake on the earlier one. So it kind of leveled out. It balanced itself out in the end.
It did. But then he did make a very good decision, in fairness to him, in that he was. Because it was Rob Oates saying that it had decided it was going to be 6 minutes added.
Yeah.
Which again, Stevenage fans would have been upset about because they don't seem to understand that the clock didn't stop when the whole floodlight conversation was going on. And there was quite a lot of substitutions going on. But it was going to give 6 minutes. And then I think it was a kid or something had booted the ball away or threw the ball away from Dean. So he stuck on an extra 2.
It was, about 3 times the ball went into the stand at the far end behind Dean's goal. And as you kind of half expect, they're winning. They're down at the bottom. They're trying to, their guys want to keep their team in front. So they're holding on to the ball for a little while. Totally expect that. I'd do the same. But then the way that you kind of mitigate that is by you just plonk it down over the fence and let the keeper come and get it. And 9 times out of 10, a ref's just going to ignore that. Just because of the way they are. But what they were then doing was holding on to it for 30, 40 seconds, nearly a minute. And then it was being lobbed out of the stand towards the far touchline. Like, they did that like 3 times. And we're all, of course, going mental because time wasting, you kind of expect a bit, well, that's taking the piss.
Yeah.
And he's obviously noted that. And maybe he's just added a bit more on quite late or thought, tell you what, that was probably they were probably taking the piss a bit there. So Rob said afterwards that it should have been 6 minutes, and the ref told him to add a couple more. So
that was the best decision of the match.
So the only advice you can give, the only thing you can take from that is, Stevenage fans, work on your shithousing.
Be a little bit subtle.
Yeah.
But then Richie, who hasn't scored many for us, but he's prolific against Stevenage.
Oh, he loves them, doesn't he?
I saw the scenes. How was it? Limbs.
Yeah, as the young ones say these days, limbs, scenes, hashtag, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was. I mean, the good thing was it was the little ball popped straight back out to Dave. It's probably the only time Dave got into a decent bit of space all day, and he's pulled the defender across, and his cross, it's perfect. Just perfect for something like, because we had all both centre backs up. Rich is in the box. We've loaded the box. That's the sort of cross you want. You want it dollied up so someone can just come and attack it, and that's what Richie did. It's perfect balling. But yeah, everything went a little bit mental after that. A lot of shouting, screaming, jumping around, and as you tend to when you've just equalised in the 98th minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was one particular bloke getting very upset that we'd celebrated so much against a relegation battling side, and it's like we were losing. What was? I
don't get that these days with modern football fans. You can't celebrate a goal anymore because it's tin pot. Well, hang on, that's why we go.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's why we go. To have moments like that. Those moments are so fleeting, and they come along fairly rarely, that you've got to enjoy them when they come. But yeah, I don't get modern football fans these days. No. You can't celebrate a goal. The team has to be on an equal or higher stature to you, otherwise you're tin pot. But then again, if they're above you and you score a goal winner against them, and your lad celebrates, then it's tin pot because he's over celebrating.
Yeah, it's cup final.
But
yeah, again, going back, if we were at the start of the season, if we were pinpointing, you'd be quite happy with a draw away from home against a team like Stevenage.
I mean, of course, they've. I mean, I don't think they were a bad side. They played some all right stuff first half. Like I say, they had the ball a lot. They buzzed around quite well. So you look at sides like that and you think, well, why are you 20th, 21st? But they've maybe they're in a false position. Maybe they had a few lads injured, and I know they've made a couple of signings in the window.
Yeah, so the manager's fairly new as well. I think he took over just before the Pizza Cup match. So they're obviously there was a bit of a change. But no, I mean, it's given us the 40 points, which again we're just literally halfway through the season, and we're 80% of what we were after. I know Gab Sutton, the guy who does a lot of EFL stuff, keeps laughing at us. He doesn't quite get it.
Yeah, he doesn't get that obsession with 50 points, does he? It's quite funny reading some of his stuff going, just enjoy it. No, we are enjoying it. We just want to get when we get a 50, there's going to be a party.
Yeah, absolutely. Just wake up at night rocking 50 points.
To be honest, the way Scunny and Oldham, likes of Scunny and Oldham are going, I think 46 will do it. I think 2 more wins will do it. But I think 50 is a nice round number.
A nice target to get. Yeah, nice absolutely. Target. I was saying to John from Colchester that there does seem to be, obviously we've never taken a awful lot of notice of League Two, only towards the end of the season to see who we
see who's coming down.
We're playing. But it does seem to be a few teams vying for being not quite the worst of a bad bunch. And he's quite adamant Colchester are going to be in that dogfight very soon.
And the thing is as well with League Two, it's the 2 or 3 of the same sort of names really. Stevenage have been down there 2 or 3 years now. Colchester have kind of nosedived into it a couple of times after a half decent start. So yeah, and I suppose it comes back then people start arguing about 3 up, 3 down and stuff like that.
We mentioned that this morning. I said I was biased because obviously we've had to do our time and dig it out to the. I mean, apart from once or twice, we've never been up there anyway, so it made no real difference to us. But yeah, there was a good article about the quality in the National League that people have to fight so hard to get out of it. When teams come up, they're already at a standard much higher than the teams at the bottom. Because I didn't realise until fairly recently that hardly any teams ever come back down again. It's always a good few years.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever gone straight back down.
I don't think anyone's gone straight down, and I think.
I mean, even yo-yo sides like Barnet usually hang around a year or two before they drop back. So.
Yeah, but we don't need to worry about that side of the table, except for
hopefully not this year, no.
Yeah, except for it moves us nicely on to Tuesday, and the Visit of Colchester, who, as I said to John, the poor bloke must regret giving me his email because we've had so many different chats, including we had a nice big chat about the game that was called off as well. So,
oh God, yeah, the one on the 29th.
Poor fella must be like, oh God, but it was very, very kind of his time. How do you see that going? I don't know where we are injury-wise. I know Toby went off on Saturday. But
no, I think Toby was more a change. I think Donovan got a knock, and both of them were just they were slogging away up front and just getting no real change. Nothing really worked for him. Nothing really, just one of them days. Nothing really came off for him. The ball into him was always just either slightly lacking in quality or, didn't give him enough to get separation from a defender and make some space. It was, they both flogged themselves to death a little bit. Toby, I think Toby didn't do anything wrong, and nor did Donovan. It's just one of those days. So, I don't know if Omar's fit. I'd expect him to be back, but you don't know. I don't know why he missed out in the first place. So. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Isaac up front on Saturday, and maybe Will Randall back in out wide instead of Isaac. So
yeah. I mean,
you've got they're on a terrible run. So hopefully, if we can stick a decent side out, a strong side out, we can get the win. I mean, we saw them off in the Pizza Cup, and I got the impression that wasn't far off the best they could put out. Yeah. Whereas we had 3 or 4 changes, so you would hope that we'd be able to at least repeat the result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've strange saying it, but looking at how the games have gone between us, you'd hope for a win.
I mean, looking at form, we're not brilliant at the minute, but they're on a terrible run. I think they've lost 6 in a row or something.
I think it's 5, and I read somewhere that it was 5. In a row, which is their worst run since 9 in a row a few years ago when they were in League One and they dropped down that year. So there's understandable worries there. And then, as I briefly discussed with John, that video of their owner going, "No, it's my club, not yours."
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I've seen some of the comments about it. About how to make friends and influence people.
There may be more context to it, and it was a 3-second clip, but it may well have been other conversations and him saying, "No, it's my club, not yours." But that's what was in clipped. Obviously, as you've mentioned, modern football is everyone has to have a beef about something, which I said to John, although we had the Oldham chap on last week, and he gave us quite a detailed thing about the problems in Oldham. Yeah. And at one point, I was kind of thinking, I need to jump in and wrap this up. But then I was like, do you know what? Some Sutton fans, we need to hear this because
no, you do. You do need to have an idea of what's going on in the league around you, and
it's just it helps appreciate
that as well.
The boring board that we have.
Yeah.
That they do the job right.
So, you do see a lot of people who've come on board lately, last couple of years obviously we've been fairly successful. So you're going to get new supporters. And now they see that where we are in the league, they're all talking about pushing on to League One, which is the funny bit because we come back to Gab and the 50 points. We're all going, just get 50, then we're safe. then we can see what exciting stuff can happen. But they're talking about pushing on to League One and stuff like that. And I've seen on the Facebook group, there's been a couple of comments about, are we going to make any signings in the January window? And it's like, probably not. Just because we probably don't have the funds available with all the other stuff going on around the club at the minute. So, but you kind of get people who don't quite understand how lucky we are to have the setup we have. And then you've got dickheads like you've got running the geezer at Oldham's a div. He's just an idiot, and he's you're just lucky that you haven't got someone like that running your club and running it into the not so much just making a mess of it, running it into the ground.
Yeah. Well, I freely admit the story has changed ever so slightly in my mind, I'm sure, over the years, but we nearly had that with the fellow who went to Carshalton, Dupree.
Apparently he did approach us,
Yeah, he wanted to come to us, and apparently he wanted to buy it free for all, and we were like, well, no, you get a seat on the board. This is the bit that may not be true, but that's how I understood it. And he didn't want a bar of it.
I think he demanded, his demands were like 100% complete control of the club, and he's going to clear house and all the rest of it. And obviously with the board we've got, they went, no, you're not. No. You can't have 100% control because we don't know where at that time we didn't know where a load of the shares were. and on the people, but that's again how outsiders, how your circumstances dictate how you can react to these people or how you deal with it. Because he came in and said that, and we go, not happening, mate, because you don't know who you're talking to. Yeah. We're all long-term fans. We're all putting our own a few quid in to keep the place running. We're not going to hand that over to a guy like you, someone like you. And unfortunately, he then changed tack when he went to Carshalton. He just basically went, "What's your debt? I'll pay it off."
Yeah, but
so
as much as it was funny at first, it is a little bit sad what it's done to Carshalton, because they were that penalty kick away from being in division above us, which I think would have been the first time. Obviously delighted they weren't, but he's then just dropped them through. So where we've stopped and gone, okay, we need to build this community club, he's ruined his community. And
it's. I mean, they've got a big in with it. They've got lots of kids' sides, and they do a lot of that. But I think they've stabilised over the last couple of years.
Yeah,
it does appear that I think he maybe learned his lesson about sticking his oar in a bit too much at levels of the club that he didn't really understand, like constantly sacking managers, made himself the manager, and look at what happened there. He spent fortunes on the team, and it just didn't work because he didn't know what he was doing.
Exactly, and
that's not being rude to the geezer. He didn't. So
that's where the only kind of team selection thing you're going to hear Bruce or any of the rest of them talk about is, no, you can't have another player for the squad because you've got too many, and that's it
as well. That's about as interfering as Bruce and the rest of the guys will get on that level.
But on that, I just saw today, I didn't realise, but I think that there may well be hoping to get another signing in. No extra thing. I think he said there was one or two they're working on, because I know we just got that keeper Nelson in, but we've let Philip go to, I'm not going to say his surname, Philip go to Sutton Common Rovers. Yeah. And actually, Brad, I just saw today, I think he's Carshalton.
He's at Carshalton, yeah. He's gone. Looks like he's gone to Carshalton on loan. So
we've moved 2 off on loan, and we've got 1 in to replace. First, I didn't realise, because when I saw the photo of the guy, I thought, oh, all right, he looks all right. And then I realised he's been around a bit.
I didn't recognise the name, but I looked him up, and he's bags of experience. It turns out he was the keeper I believe he was the keeper for Notts County when they beat us 2-0 on ESPN a few years ago.
Wow!
And he saved the penalty. I believe that's him.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing from the club perspective, they've got him in as maybe he's doing coaching badges, because he's well into his 30s. Maybe he's doing coaching badges. He's good to sit on the bench and be a keeper coach maybe as well.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was where
the
I was
role.
going to head to. Yeah, absolutely. So where was I going to go next? I can't remember. So Colchester, just a prediction. What are you going to go with? I'm still going to try and stick to these predictions.
I hope for a win. I don't like making bold predictions. I'll tell you what, I'll go for 3-1. Let's just give them a little something, but also, no, let's.
I actually put 3-1 as well. So I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna put 3-0 now because you said 3-1.
Ooh.
I know. It'll be brave.
You're not keeping track of these, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, come on. What's this? Are you going to tally up the points at the end of the season and see how you did against all the guests?
Yeah. And at the moment, I can tell you, if we were going to put a word on it, it would be shit. Is how I've done compared to the rest. Absolute fucking toilet.
Oh well.
So my system up until today was I was using Football Manager and doing a season mode. And I was like, that worked. And none of them have been right. And the only one I've got right is Colchester in the Pizza Cup, where I couldn't simulate that, so I just plucked the figure out of the air and I got it fucking right. Whatever.
See, mate.
So, yeah.
Sometimes you got to go with heart overhead.
Yeah. So it depends pretty much how this goes, I would imagine, to see whether it continues or not. Because if I carry on doing it as well,
if it carries on being a complete disaster in your favour, it's like, I'll stop doing that.
It may well quietly disappear. Who knows?
You'll have to edit this video now as well. They'll down the line to hide it.
It's all right. I do too many of them. No one's ever going to trawl back through them to go, what was that one? What did he say? I'm not going to listen to all the shit I talk to try and find out one particular thing. But yeah, so we are pretty much done, unless there's something else you wanted to plug. There wasn't. We've already said the blog post, so obviously check it out. Gandamanium.
Yeah, blogs up. Gandamanium.com. Get your eyeballs over there.
And you seem to have stabilised a little bit on the authors. You're not begging for them for the last couple of weeks.
It kind of panned out perfectly because I ended up getting the bloody lurgy just before Christmas, so I had to obviously park my arse indoors for 10 days. So thankfully, the two games were the Surrey Cup. Well, Dukey's got to do it. And Tots had already offered to do the Harrogate game on the 18th, which I obviously couldn't go to because I was right in the middle of my lurgy prison. So I was back ready for Boxing Day, which then got called off well in advance. So yeah, I think it's more. I think when you say stabilised, I think it's more not played. Yeah. Settled it down a bit.
But I did notice there wasn't a call for the Pizza Cup correspondent because you've jumped on the bandwagon now.
I actually, as I explained, I actually sorted out a guest writer. Someone did actually say, are you still looking for people? I said, yeah. He said, oh, cool. Well, I'll be doing that game. I'd love to have a go. I went, okay, cool. That's fine. All you've just got to do is knock it up, a few pictures. Don't take it too seriously. Send us what you've got. And then literally just finishing work on the Tuesday, and I got a text from him saying, really, really sorry, but I had something come up at home, short notice. I can't make tonight. And I'm like, oh no, there's no way. I know Dukey's going, but there's no way he'll write it. Tots isn't going to come up from the South Coast. So I was like, SuttonUnited.net, £12 down the toilet to the Pizza Cup. So yeah, I had to toddle along. But it just allowed me to like you say, jump on the bandwagon and shut JR up about you can't come to Wembley. Bloody can.
Yeah, exactly. People who've only started supporting Sutton the last couple of years, possibly getting a Wembley trip, we're like, no.
Yeah, you're not allowed. We're doing this crap for 30 odd years.
Exactly. Anyway, no, we're not gonna jump the gun a little bit. I did get a little bit upset when I saw they got pumped 4-0. So I was like, oh man, that's going to give them a bit of a kick up the arse a little bit, isn't it?
Oh well.
But never mind. Hopefully not. Anyway, yeah, thanks for your time.
No problem, mate. Anytime.
Probably see you Tuesday.
Yes, you will see me along on Tuesday on the Curver.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you haven't seen this? Look. I planned it out that if there was 3 people working on the video call, which is going to work great for anyone listening on the audios, obviously brilliant. There's my little picture of the Curver, and we would have sat all 3 of us on the screens. Hey, marvellous. All the lot watching live,
virtually on the terraces. I like it. I see. It's all developing. It's all
Absolutely.
Evolving into the product you want, Mike.
Funny enough, I said that to John earlier. When we were off camera, I was like, my next guest next week, I should be having Claire, and some guys from Northampton.
Yeah.
And I just kind of randomly go through Twitter and find people, and they've got a podcast, and I was like, "Oh, do you fancy it?" And they were like, "Yeah, we'll do that." I'm quite honest in that it's not very good. Don't worry. And they were laughing because I called him rather than a guest, a victim. So got him to come on, and he's agreed to it. And I just had a quick flick through their thing, and I've realised it's only the bloody people who've won the podcast of the year. And I'm like, oh, marvellous, isn't it? We have people going, oh, that's what a podcast is supposed to sound like.
Oh, but then on the other side of the coin, mate, it allows you to have a quiet word with them in the green room behind the scenes to get information and go, how do you make this good?
Yeah. Yes, just as I did to Craig from Mansfield Matters, and
that's
basically
what it all is, mate. Networking.
Yeah, absolutely. Steal, borrow ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Learn from your peers, I believe.
Absolutely, yeah. I've got peers. Oh my god. Anyway, I am going this time. Right. Take care, guys. See you all on Tuesday, and I'll be back on Wednesday with the Wednesday is now going to be called the midweek social. Because Andy suggested it, and the votes came in, and it was quite overwhelming. So it's now going to be the midweek social, not the midweek treat. So
I know where that name comes from as well.
Yeah, I remembered when he said it. I was like, oh yeah, I remember.
When I saw that, and I saw Andy had suggested it, I went, no.
Yeah, I remember now. But anyway, I can't be expected to remember everything. I can barely remember I'm supposed to do this. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
See ya.